All right. I'd like to call tonight's regular meeting of council to order. First item of business is recommendation that the agenda for the regular council meeting of January 12th, 2015 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Kinney, seconded by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Motion carried. Next, I'd like to make a recommendation that the following meeting minutes be adopted. The inaugural meeting of December 1st, 2014, the public hearing of December 3rd, 2014, the special council meeting of December 3rd, 2014, the special council meeting of December 8th, 2014, the special council meeting of December 15th, 2014, the special council meeting of December 15th, 2014, and the special council meeting of December 17th, 2014 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Redhawa, seconded by Councillor Niche. Ms. Baumann?
Your worship.
Yes.
Do I hear?
Councillor Thorkelson?
Yes, there's, we don't usually adopt the minutes. It's a different procedure all at once. And the reason is I have a few concerns regarding the minutes for the special meeting of council held on Wednesday, December 3rd. And they are inaccurate. And I think they should be amended. And I can go through that if you want me to do that now, since the motion was moved to adopt all of them at once.
Absolutely, and if there's any other amendments, we can go through those as well, because I believe there is a couple other amendments. So why don't we start, just say which one you want amended, and then say what's the corrections.
Okay, so the special meeting of council held on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014 at 9 p.m.
Yep.
It's on page 11 of the package.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go on?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The first of all, the agenda was not generally approved. It was adopted. I moved the motion, and I moved an adoption of the agenda with an amendment. And the amendment was that Mr. Long's report of November 25th be included, and that we consider the recommendations in Mr. Long's report as item 3C.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, can the minutes reflect the changes?
And then so that is one change. The second change is on 3B. By 3B, it should go that Councillor Thorkelson asked a technical question, and then moved by Councillor Thorkelson to adopt bylaw 3351/2014 to move the zoning line to delineate with an amendment to move the zoning line to delineate the property that abuts the cliff, so that all cobbled area will be zone P1 with the cliff remains. So the rest of that sentence would be correct. And then it should say seconded by I said moved by the Councillor Thorkelson, and then that motion should be made. It should say seconded by Council Cunningham, and then it should say in favor and opposed, and it was actually defeated, not carried.
It does say that it was defeated there. No?
Yeah, okay, well these minutes are a mess. It should say, in order to be consistent, it should say, see under bylaws, it says moved by Councillor Cunningham and seconded by Councillor Rondawa.
Yeah.
That's what it should say. And then that was opposed, and then I believe it was moved after that. Then I believe the next order was that moved by Councillor Niche and seconded Councillor Moe, that Councillor give third reading and adopt the city, so that those are the first paragraph should say Councillor Thorkelson asked a technical question. The second should be the third paragraph, which says moved by Councillor Thorkelson.
Right.
Not Councillor Thorkelson made a motion. It should say moved by Councillor Thorkelson and seconded by Councillor Cunningham to adopt bylaw blah 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 with the amendment to to move the zoning line to delineate with the rest of it. Right. Then the third thing was moved by Councillor Niche and seconded by Councillor Moreau that it be passed as is. So that second move by Councillor Niche, that should be moved to after I made a motion which was defeated, and that should say defeated.
Right.
Okay. And what I'd like to do is if we can, is just send these back to the staff to be fixed, right? And then because the next one was moved by Councillor Thorkelson and seconded by Councillor Cunningham. I suppose that's who did it. To consider the recommend. So this should be say 3C, and it was to adopt Mr. Long's report and the 12 points or adopt the 12. I don't have my book here, so I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it was that to adopt the 12 points in the report by Dr. Faggoter, which were included in Mr. Long's report, and add a 13th point. I don't think it was 8 points. I think there was 12, and add the 13th point, which was the point that Mr. Long had advised on his own, and then it was that and so I made that, and I also said that the Prince Rupert Legacy should hire an environmental assessment officer, and that that part was defeated. And
the recommendation to doing that, right? That was put to another time to have staff carry out the actual assessment of it. I think you're right, Councillor Silkelson. I think these do need to go back to be cleared up.
So it's so much easier, just Mayor Brain, on just procedure. I know that everybody likes to have shorter meetings, but it's no good to have shorter meetings if they take longer because we're doing this. So I would just suggest that we defeat the motion to look at all of them and then just go through them one by one, and it doesn't take very long.
Yep, absolutely, we can do that.
That way we can refer these back.
Okay, so we'll rescind the motion on the table. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Cunningham. Okay, so we'll start in order then. So we'll have a recommendation that the minutes of the inaugural meeting of December 1st, 2014 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Niche. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Second is the recommendation that the minutes of the public hearing of December 3rd, 2014 be adopted. Motion by Councillor Cunningham. Oh yeah, right. So this is the amendment of the public hearing?
Yeah. We've got, a few of us have noticed, we've got the meeting being held on December 3rd, and then the chair called the public hearing of December 24th. What type of hearing? It says it's called the order.
Okay. 1 second. Oh, it does.
Good one on you.
Okay. Yeah. So meetings reflect that the under the public hearing section, right where it says call to order, wrong date. Okay. Is there any other amendments to that agenda? Okay. So can I get a motion to adopt that agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Niche. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next is a recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of December 3rd, 2004 be amended as per Councillor Thorkelson's suggestions.
I would like to actually just move that they referred back to staff to be amended with what happened in the meeting, and refer the staff to the video if they can't remember. And I have some notes and I can supply those. I don't know if anybody else took notes, but I don't have minutes.
Okay, I'll take that motion. Seconder? Second by Councillor Cunningham. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next is a recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of December 8th, 2014 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Kinney. Second by Councillor Redhala. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is a recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of December 15th, 2014 be adopted. Any movers? Moved by Councillor Niche. Seconded by Councillor Cunningham. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Another recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting of December 15th, 2014 be adopted.
Your Worship?
Yeah.
I'm on this one. May I speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I can't, for some reason, at the hotel room, I don't have high-speed enough internet to download the video, so I can usually keep up by watching the video, but I can't get it tonight. So what I do want to say is again, this needs to, I believe that this should be amended to go in our normal order of how we have moved, and it says, Councillor Cunningham wished to table a later date and the recommendation to amend blah, 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 right? And then it says, seconded by Councillor Thorkelson. You're not sure what it is, so it should say, Councillor Cunningham moved, and what he said it was, seconded by Councillor Thorkelson, right? And so, because it's just not clear if you're reading this, that he wished to table, right?
Okay, so that was, so we have two December 15th meeting minutes.
Oh, are we on the...
That we were, yeah, we were on, well, we moved, the one that you're referring to is the one we just passed. But,
okay, I'm sorry, mine are out of order.
It's okay. Yeah, so that was 3E, and then this one's 3F. But what we can do is, would you like to make a motion to amend?
Yeah, I would just like to, well, you can say it can be reconsidered, or maybe I can just move that it be, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, so maybe I'll just move that we send the minutes of the special meeting held on Monday, December 15th, which is called 3E.
Yes.
Back to staff to fix that paragraph 4A under bylaws.
Okay. So you're moving that. Any seconders? Seconded by Councillor Cunningham. Discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, so now we're on 3F. This was the motion to resolution to exclude the public. Is there any recommendation that we pass these minutes for a special council meeting of December 15th, 2014? Moved by Councillor Niche. Seconded by Councillor Moreau. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and lastly, I think we also have a amendment to make to the last special council meeting of December 17th on page 19. It says that in each paragraph, I believe it says that, so we have under, for example, under reports 4A enhancement grants, it says that that the recipients will receive 65% of the grants being awarded at the beginning of 2015 and 35% of the remaining grants later. But it should mention something more to the fact that that 35% may be approved or not approved at a later time. Ms. Baumann?
It it was supposed to say grants be awarded at a level of 65% of the amount requested, with up to the remaining 35% being given overall consideration during the budget season in 2015, with the proviso that any grant recipient needing additional grant money prior to May 2015 can receive additional funds upon appearing before council.
Okay. Can I then get a motion to recommend what Ms. Bauman just said? Okay. Motion by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Kinney. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Yes.
Or, sorry, still going to take, you have to excuse me.
That's okay.
Mayor Brain. I am concerned with the paucity in our minutes, and I especially with the minutes of the public meeting, which I think should have not just been a list of the people that appeared, and not just whether they supported or opposed it, but I think we should have had some information on why if they made any points. If they just stood up and said, I support the recommendations, then I think that's appropriate. But I think if they spoke for a long time that they're concerned about the environmental effects or concerned about the economic impacts, it should be provided in these. And I think I raised it last time, and it was said that maybe that was proper during the minutes for a public hearing, but I haven't seen minutes of a public hearing ever by this council that were so sparse in information. And I don't know legally what we're supposed to do, but those are pretty sparse minutes.
Well, by the we're supposed to just record the business and the what decisions were made, or if people are for or against, rather than the details, because details can be interpreted as a certain way. But I do understand what you're saying, but I think for the legality of it is that we're just supposed to mention who it was, their address and those things, and then kind of their stance or their position on it. But I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. We actually include details in those. But in terms of the minutes, generally speaking, it's just for business purposes only, when what things were moved, what things were seconded, those things, and the details are up to the recorded and video and those type of things. So that's what, to my understanding, is what our legal obligation is to the minutes.
Okay, well, I just think that if you look back at any other minutes, you can find out what was said at a public hearing, whereas this one you can't. So anyway, I'll continue to raise my concerns on that, and it may only be me that's continually raising the concerns, but I plan to do so. So sort of, if I bore you guys, it's my future apology.
Oh, and that's absolutely fine. So thank you for that. Okay, we'll move on to next item of business. And today is a very special occasion. There's been a nomination for the 2014 Civic Merit Award, and the nomination has gone to Mr. Adrian Liu. And Mr. Liu, if you'd like to come sit up here. You can just sit right there. I'll just read a quick blurb about what a great guy you are. So the Civic Merit Award is bestowed upon individuals who have brought distinction to themselves and the city of Prince Rupert by outstanding achievements in sports, youth leadership, volunteer, and community service. This award recognizes someone who has made a positive and significant difference in our community. Mr. Adrian Liu, throughout your playing career, you have distinguished yourself as one of BC's top badminton players. Among your accomplishments are winning your first Triple Crown, gold in men's doubles, mixed doubles, and men's singles at the Northern BC Winter Games in 1999. In 2000-2001, you earned the Zone 7 Male Athlete of the Year under 19. At the Northern BC Winter Games in 2002, you brought back 2 gold medals in the men's doubles and men's singles in the year you graduated from Prince Rupert Senior Secondary. Later on in your career as an elite international competitor, you traveled to over 10 international tournaments a year. You have been a BC provincial champion, Canadian national champion, and a Team Canada member for elite competitions. And it is my honor to give to you today the Civic Merit Award. And I'll come around and do a quick photo and all that. You're all welcome to stay if you'd like, but I understand if you don't want to. Okay. Next item of business, a presentation from Miss Gina, correct me if I say your last name wrong, Curran, Senior Regional Transit Manager for BC Transit, regarding route changes and recommendations. Hi, welcome.
Mr. Mayor and Council, for allowing me to present. I have two presentations. One is for some service changes, and the other one is for a fare review and the recommendations out of that. I'm looking for an approval. What I would like to do is implement any changes as May 1st, when the rider's guides change anyway, and both of these things would take a rider's guide change, which takes about 3 months to produce. So if I would need an approval if council wanted to go forward with either one of these changes or both by February 1st. So just so that you have that in mind. Okay. I'm going to start with the service change review first, just because
That's okay.
Is it not working?
Just press that green button there.
I thought it was.
Oh, just leave it once and then you'll see the little red ring will go on.
Oh, I see. I don't have to hold it.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, and there you go.
All right. I'm going to start with the service changes first, just because I think they're a little more straightforward. The fare review is a little more complex, and being mindful of the time and your attention, I just want to make sure that we get through both. Okay. There we go. We looked at your system, and we had implemented some changes. I believe the last one was in, 2011 or 2012. In any case, there was a couple things that came out of there, and these service changes are no-cost options, so it's not going to make any difference to the cost. It's just providing more effective and efficient service. So one of the recommendations is to reallocate service to provide more trips to the transition house. Apparently, in the meantime, the transition house has moved. And then eliminate the Crestview loop on Route 53, as there's a big loop in the route, and it's wrecking the buses. It's wrecking the leaf springs on them, and we've put some thought into it. And there's another route, just go straight across and eliminate the loop and put in a shelter. And so, if council decides to go forward with that, bear in mind that we're looking at putting a shelter there. And reallocate service to the afternoon special to address capacity challenges. So currently there's one bus that goes past both the middle school and the high school. It gets overloaded and it's been becoming quite a challenge. So we're proposing a small change that would split that passenger load into two separate vehicles, two separate bus routes, and then service two separate neighborhoods. So it would break up and spread the load. The first change is the transition house. So this is Route 54 here. What we would do is steal a couple trips or a few trips from this, which is being underutilized, and move it over to a trip that would look more like this and go past the transition house and then turn into a 52 Summit, which is a highly used route, because right here at the hospital there's high ridership and passenger pickup. This is the Crestview loop. This is the next change. And what we're talking about is eliminating this piece right here and going straight across with a recommendation to put a shelter on one end of it. The afternoon special, now we'd have two buses, both the 51 and the 53, both of them now would go in past the Civic Center and then go past both schools, and then they would split. One would service this neighborhood, which has a high destination point, and the other one would service this neighborhood, and thereby spreading the load of the two schools into two separate districts. But then the students can get on either bus. Thank you. That's it for that one. Is there any questions about that or any discussion that you want to have? Any
Councilor
concerns?
Do you have a hard copy of that?
here.
Oh, Joy, Councillor Cunningham is just quickly mentioning something.
Okay.
And he was just mentioning, do you have card copies for council?
I do have hard copies I brought with me, but I did send it electronically, and I was of the impression that it was part of your package. But I'm happy to send it electronic, hard copy, whatever you want.
Oh, it was sent separately. Okay, we have it not as this printed package, but we do have a copy.
Okay, and I could leave some hard copies, and then people can make copies or whatever.
That's fine, absolutely. Councillor Thorkelton?
Hi, can you hear me over this? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was looking at, it's slide 5 of the PowerPoint.
Yes. Yes.
And what I was looking at is, and maybe it's just the way this is, but I think the 51 Seal Cove bus used to go down 6th, so it passed or down 5th, so it passed the senior residence there, and then went around the back of Lahane or Booth, and then over the bridge to go right down 6th. So is that being removed, or is this just the special?
This is just the special, and it would only take effect, I think, at one time a day at 3:05, the 3:05 trip. The details are in the whole written out presentation.
Right. So you're not going to change the regular bus which goes down 5th and then across the bridge.
Only on the 3:05 trip.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Kinney, then Councillor Niche.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Karan, seeing this is under changes and recommendations, I'm wondering, is there any possibility at all, because we have so many seniors in the Hayesville trailer park and there's no bus service whatsoever down there? None.
Okay. Are you talking about a different change than what's being proposed? Okay, well, then that's something we would have to look at. Aside from this, that wasn't brought up to us, and it might be that, you know, they've done some ridership counts. And I should say, we did do public consultation and did surveys and talked to drivers and people who rode the routes. And although, you know, the people that are going to not be able to go outside and get on a bus outside their front door don't like it, but generally 76-79% were in favor of this. So I could talk to you offline about this after, if that would help. Okay, I'll leave you my card.
Councillor Niche. Oh, just one moment, Councillor Thorkelson. Councillor Niche is ahead of you.
I'm actually a previous bus driver, so I can kind of speak from experience on this one. But the only one that I really have a little bit of an issue with, because I don't really see the benefit, is the Crestview Loop. The Crestview Loop didn't really pick up many people, but I don't think the road is any better going the straight route, because they're both in tough shape. So as far as damage to your buses, I think the other way is actually worse, because I actually drove that portion today just to have a good look at it, and I think it's probably worse than the other way. But as far as the rest of the service changes, I'm understanding what you're wanting to do, and I'm in full agreement of what you're wanting, except for that loop.
Okay, thank you. It's because of the hill. On the bottom part, it's more flat, and it's because of the hill that it's breaking the leaf springs. So if we could eliminate that, and you're right, there's very low ridership, so we don't think it'll be a huge impact, but it would enhance the longevity of the buses.
On that straight stretch, though, the road is probably more bumpier and rougher than going the full loop around is what I would see. I mean, just driving over that road, I don't think that is a better way. I mean, I think it's going to do more damage to the buses than going around, because going around, it's actually flatter. The other way, it's more rough. The road is a lot more rough. So just my opinion. I mean, I've driven, like I say, I drove the buses for 10 years, so.
Well, thank you. It's always great to talk to an expert. What it is it's the hill, not the roughness of the roads. It's the actual hill. It's the steep incline, the steep decline, and that, for whatever reason, and maybe because it's a turn, I don't know, but the hill is problematic, and they have researched whether it would be better for the buses to go and, you know, consulted with our operating partner. So I will bring that to their attention and mention that, but they've already looked at that and thought that it would be better to cut out that hill. So I will bring it back to them though and mention it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redhowa?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, actually, sorry. Councillor Thorkelson, did you want to say something? I remember you chimed in there.
Yes,
Sorry.
I did. I just wanted to know if this added, what was it going to be the change in schedule? Was there going to be any schedule changes? I don't think schedule changes, but the number of runs that you're going to make per day in each area, is that going to change?
No, the number of trips will, I think they're staying the same. It's just that one trip time is going to deviate and going to split into 2 routes.
Right, where we have, the 54 Westview and 56 proposed new route, how is that going to affect scheduling?
I don't think it affects scheduling. It's just going to be a different route at those times. But there's still going to be a trip at that time. It's just going to go somewhere different for a few of the trips.
Right, so that if you wanted to go to the Fairview floats or the ferry dock, there are going to be fewer trips there because we are putting on a new route at 56. I'm just trying to get this straight.
Yes, I think you're correct. If I'm understanding you correctly, I believe you're right. That there'll be less trips to that. And the reason they used to have more trips down there is because the transition house, which is a high use, used to be located there. When they relocated the transition house, then it got very poor service and very infrequent trips. So we're looking to correct that. And the ridership is quite low.
Out to the ferry dock? Was there any service now? I'm sure that there used to be a service out to McMillan, which is where the Prince Rupert ferry is.
You know, I'm
ferries, I mean.
I'm sorry I can't answer that question because I'm not exactly sure. I think you're talking about the 54 Westview, and what they're doing is taking a few trips away from there in order to provide more trips to the transition house that will have a different route now. We'll have a new route called 56. There'll be as the same number of trips, same frequency, just going to different places. So they're not taking away service altogether anywhere. There'll still be service wherever there was service before. It's just rerouting it at certain times.
I just had thought there was service out to the ferry, Prince Rupert, or BC Ferries, Alaska Ferry, and Prince Rupert Ferry Terminal. I thought there was service out there, and I don't see a route here to for any service out there. It would go down to the end of Park. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there hasn't been bus service out there for a long time. Wade, would you know?
Councillor Nish?
Yes, Councillor Thurkelson. I believe there's still a couple runs a day that go down to that space. What they're proposing is taking actually a few of the Westview runs, which is Graham and Atlan Avenue area, and they're looking to take some of those runs, which are pretty underutilized. I remember years ago when I drove, there was not a lot of transit passengers in there. It was more during the school kids. That, you know, before school or after school, that was more of a utilized run. So what I think they're trying to do is take a few of the Westview runs, which is Graham and Atlan Avenue, and turn them into more of a route that goes to the transition house, which was kind of the more of the higher use when the transition house was in the Westview area. So I think what they're doing is they're just taking a few of the underutilized runs and and circling them to the transition house instead. But as far as your question, as far as going to the waterfront, there is a few runs a day that go down there. It's not a big service, and it never actually was very used. A lot of times we'd go down and park there and sit there, and there wasn't a lot of riders anyways. But that is still there, I believe.
Okay, I just was wondering, because I hate to, that during the summer, I would assume that bus is better used than during the winter time for sure, but it's a rundown and services. There's about 200 fishermen that tie up there during the summertime who have, most of them have no other way other than walk or take the bus to carry their groceries other than cabs.
Well, just to finish off, we're not eliminating service. We're just making it less frequent in that area in order to redirect it to where there'll be higher ridership.
Right. Just that I don't see any route that goes there, but maybe we don't have all routes.
Okay.
Just one moment, Councillor Cunningham. Is that all then, Councillor Thorkelson?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Ratawa? And then Councillor Cunningham.
How many trips we stealing from Graham Avenue and Atlan Avenue to change to transition house?
How many?
Yes.
I think it's 3 or 4 that they took away in order to alleviate time and create time to give more service to the transition house.
But there'll still be some service from that area.
Yes, there'll still be service there.
Councillor Kinney? Did you have something? Oh, sorry. Is there any other discussion on this piece? Councillor Cunningham, my apologies.
That run you're taking to transition, now, could that run go down in possibly the summer when there's high usage, like Councillor Thorkelson was talking about? So it could go down, park, do the loop through BC Ferries, pick up anyone at the docks and come back again and then continue on. It would just be extending that run a little bit.
That wasn't considered. We didn't think about that when they were doing the planning. So just like the suggestions that Councillor Kinney was suggesting, that perhaps we could look at that after. Corinne?
Ms. Bauman?
Not all of the routes are actually in this proposal, right?
No, just the ones we're changing.
So I would venture a guess that since not all the routes are in here, that it doesn't actually address the routes that Councillor Thorkelson is referring to, and that there's actually no change to those services.
Continue. Thank you.
Are we okay to go to the fare review now? Okay.
Yes, please.
So we looked at the systems, and we looked at both Prince Rupert and Port Edward because you share a rider's guide. And some of the things that we noted was that, they're although they are operated as individual systems, it's very complex. It's a small geographic area, and yet there's 3 fare zones. And the BC Transit recommends a fare review every 3 years, and we're right on time for that. The previous one was adjusted January 2012. This fare review, this is just some high-level stats, and actually the cost recovery, he has 28% here, but the revenue manager had sent me an email saying that you guys are the crown jewel of BC because there's one other place that has higher revenue recovery, but you do very well with your revenue recovery. So it fluctuates between 28 and 32%. He looked at what was in place now and listed out what all the different fare products are, and then as well as the semester passes and the annual passes. Then he looked at what were BC Transit guidelines and how that they try to make them equal to base fare. So their idea is to make cash fare one cash fare and offer your discounts in tickets and passes. That way it allows both your revenue stability because people are purchasing in advance, and it also allows more predictability on ridership because once people have a pass, they tend to ride more. So it usually increases your ridership, and it's a way to kind of say if you're going to make us deal with cash because cash is expensive to deal with, then you're going to have to pay more money. But if you buy 10 tickets or a monthly pass, an annual pass, a semester, whatever, then you will get a discount. You can see here that he has listed what the discounts are and what BC Transit guidelines are, and then what yours are. And then the monthly pass is the same. We recommend 20 to 30 times the base, and then less 15%. The regional system is performing well against your peers. So he took some systems, he took the regional system and took 5 other peers that were similar type of system. And then I think he took another dozen regional systems and looked at what the comparisons were. And he's noticing asymmetry in the multiple zones and the pricing products. I don't know if you noticed back a couple slides. Sometimes Port Edward trips are more expensive. Sometimes they're less expensive. Like there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason as to how like it's not 10% more than what you pay in Prince Rupert, but sometimes it's 20% less. So it's asymmetrical. The cash fares in Prince Rupert are below the peers, while passes are on par. The discount products are priced below the BC Transit guidelines, and simplification by reducing fare zones and fare products will both increase usability and efficiency of the system, as well as decrease any driver conflict, which is the fares are the #1 thing to cause conflict on a bus. These are what he's recommending for alignment, that it would be a straight cash fare, $2.75 to go to the North Pacific Village, but $2 for both cash fares for both systems. And that way it's in one coin, easy for the drivers, easy for the passengers. Doesn't matter where you're getting on and off. It's $2. The tickets for adults and seniors and students it'd be going up a little bit in Prince Rupert and a little bit more in Port Edward. And it would stay the same for adults and go up a little bit in Prince Rupert. There's a little bit of adjustment in all of these, both up and down. And then these day passes would be, so usually what they recommend is 2 times the daily fare, the cash fare. And that way, if anybody's going to ride it more than 2 times, it's worth their while to get a day pass. And again, then you usually get higher ridership and people will tend to go towards passes because they feel like they're getting a better deal. And then he's recommending that the annual pass for seniors, you're the only one in BC that has a seniors pass for $12 for a year, $1 a month. And what this $45 would bring you on par with the BC Bus Pass. And the BC Bus Pass is a pass that people have to be means tested. They have to have a disability or a low income, and they have to apply to the Ministry of Social Development and Social Innovation. And the ministry has decided that $45 is an affordable fee for people who are on a disability income or a seniors that's been means tested. So he's recommending that we go to at least that minimum because it wouldn't seem reasonable that it would be less than that. Whoops. That wasn't the last slide, I didn't think. Sorry. Yep, sorry, it was the last slide. Is there any questions or concerns?
Councillors? Ms. Baumann?
Ms. Karan, I have one question. The seniors pass that you were referring to would enable them, any senior, to also utilize the services in other locales as well, and not just in Prince Rupert?
The BC Bus Pass does. If they apply for a BC Bus Pass, then they would be means tested, and they would either have to be a senior on low income or have a disability. And then if they applied for that and got it, they would pay the $45 to the Ministry of Social Development and Social Innovation. The Ministry of Social Development and Social Innovation would give money back to BC Transit that would get distributed to all the people who have passes in their area. What he's suggesting is that your seniors pass, if you continue to have one, would be $45, at least $45, rather than the 12. The BC bus pass, if they applied to the ministry and were able to get that, they could use in any other transit system in BC except the Lower Mainland. So if they went to visit their grandkids in Kelowna, they can use BC Transit there as well with the BC bus pass. However, if you continue to have your own seniors pass, it would only be good for here in Port Edward.
I have a few questions, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Thorkelson.
I'm wondering a number of, quite a few things. I guess one of the things that I was wondering is why would somebody pay the same amount to ride for 5 blocks of Prince Rupert as somebody who's going to go 8 miles out to Port Edward?
Why would they pay the same price? Because it's a reasonable price according to your peers, and it's just makes it simplistic. The easier you can make it both for the passenger and for the driver, the better and more efficient your system will be.
And why, I'm not sure, were the drivers having problems because they don't give change? Why is it less simplistic for the or more simplistic for the drivers?
Because it would be one cash fare for 2 systems for everybody. It wouldn't be seniors get a discount and students get a discount. Port Edward people pay this, Prince Rupert pay that. Then the driver's got to pay attention where they get on and off. It becomes very complicated, and really what he wants to do is be able to drive the bus safely. So if we could make it simplistic, it would be more in line with BC Transit guidelines.
I didn't think the Port Ed bus stopped in Prince Rupert. I thought it collected passengers downtown and went out to Port Ed.
I think it does both. It not only takes Prince Rupert people to Port Ed, it also brings Port Ed people into Prince Rupert.
Right, no, that wasn't the question. I meant the bus doesn't stop in Prince Rupert. You just get on the bus downtown, you pay your $2, you go out to Port Ed, or you get on in Port Ed and you pay your $2 and get off in Rupert. So I'm just wondering why the recommendation would be that it would be difficult for bus drivers. Bus drivers who drive in Prince Rupert aren't taking people to Port Ed.
They still only have to remember one cash fare, and all your passengers only have to remember a toonie. We'll get them on a bus. Doesn't matter where they're going.
Right, so I have some comments on that.
Okay.
I understand that. I just don't believe that it's any more complicated, since I don't believe there's any crossover between the Port Ed ridership and the Prince Rupert ridership. As for bus drivers, they're not picking up people and putting in 2 different fares for Zone 1 and Zone 2. They're just, in Vancouver, there is a Zone 1 and Zone 2, and bus drivers do have to, I guess, maybe the system is automated in Vancouver, so they don't have to worry about it. But anyway, what I really am wondering about is our relationship between, I've forgotten our relationship between the subsidy, the income that comes in from BC Transit and the subsidy that the city pays for the transit operation. Maybe you could remind me.
And you're wondering what the funding partnership percentage is? Is that what you're requesting?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how the funding formula works, the partnership, or whatever you want to call it, between BC Transit and ourselves.
Okay. For conventional service, BC Transit usually funds 46.69%, and the municipality will fund 53.31%. But all the revenue goes back to the city, all the advertising revenue and all the fares. So once they do up the budget and say these are the costs and here's the split, then the city gets a municipal administration fee, and they also get all the revenue back, and then they decide, and then they add on what the lease fee costs are, because BC Transit owns all the assets.
Right, so last time we increased the bus fares, our ridership fell quite sharply. So I'm wondering, you see in Prince Rupert, it is, we have a good bus system and people use it because it's relatively inexpensive. But if the bus system goes up and people find it prohibitive, then they walk because we're quite a compact community, which is the reason that our bus service is so good. And so those are my concerns. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, and you raise a good point, and thank you for raising that, because I forgot to mention that is typically what we see when every time you raise rates, you will lose some ridership, but they have an algorithm that they use to figure out what that would be. So the revenue and ridership impact would be either a 9% increase in revenue and a 6% decrease in ridership, or in dollars, that'd be a $36,000 increase in revenue minus $20,000 for the decrease in ridership. So you'd still be ahead. And you're correct, people do tend to say, well, I'm not going to pay that extra 25 cents, but it usually peters out quite quickly. And within a year or so, you're back to regular ridership numbers. There is an initial impact, though. You are correct. Thank you.
So we would lose what? I'm sorry, I missed that. We lose how many riders? What would our loss in ridership be?
The revenue impact would be an increase of 9%, and ridership would be a decrease of 6%. And in dollars, that would be a $36,000 increase in revenue and a $20,000 loss in revenue from ridership.
So we would only gain $16,000 as $16,000 in the course of a year, as long as that disparity, if that disparity continued in the number of people not choosing to ride. Because we actually lost. It wasn't that we actually looked at our last time we did this. We actually looked at our ridership and our what we actually lost money last time because the decrease in ridership was so sharp. Maybe our treasurer can speak to that.
Ms. Bauman?
I'm looking at the revenues for 2010, and it says that we had $332,000 in the year. In 2011, which is the last fare increase, July the 1st, 2011, there was actually a $24,000 increase in revenues. And then in 2012, it only went down by $2,000. 2013 did drop, however, it dropped by $24,000, but there was no fare change in that year.
And do you have the first year of the fare increase, or was that 2010?
That's just the last column on the page that I had printed out. It only covers 5 years.
Yeah, because I can't remember what the first year was, but I know I saw a graph, and we actually, more riders fell off. We actually lost revenue that year.
Ms. Bauman?
And I should mention that for 2014, although we're just finalizing all of our records right now, it's anticipated that we'll have $343,000. So we're up from 2013 by about $13,000.
Councillor Thorkelson, can I pass it off to a couple other councillors at the moment?
Sure. I'm sorry about that. I just wish that internet was working here properly. So.
It's okay. I just if you wanted to return, just let me know. So Councillor Nation, then Councillor Cunningham.
Councillor Thorkelson, just to kind of answer your question a little bit, just from what I remember, is that most people that traveled the system regularly were pass holders. Even with the seniors, obviously at $12, they chose to travel the bus quite frequently for $1 a month. But everyone else that was quite regular users, most of them would have passes. So when you're increasing the fares or trying to straighten the fares out to be equal all around, it's probably not a bad idea. Maybe that's not the right price. I mean, maybe it's something we have to look at, but the idea behind it is not a bad idea, because I do recall, you know, people, if you see somebody throwing $2 all the time, it's easy to keep track of as a driver, where you, when, especially when you got like 40 kids walking onto a bus at the same time, or you have, which happens on the school specials. And also, as far as your Port Ed question, years ago it used to be a separate system with the Port Ed bus was basically run on its own, whereas now the same drivers actually they could be doing, say, a Crestview route, and then they could come downtown and they could go a Silk Cove route, and then they could come back downtown and then they could go out to Port Ed. So it is a combined system, so they are dealing with both sets of passengers. Just thought I would give you that information.
Councillor Cunningham?
One concern I have is our ridership for seniors is, I think, fairly high in this town. And at $12 for a yearly pass, when you put that up to 45, you could get a larger drop off in ridership in that particular group, because that's quite an increase, $33. And you're talking about a group that's on a fixed income. I wonder how much of a drop you would get in that one specific group versus your other figures. Like you're looking at an overall figure, but you're also admitting that our $12 a year pass is way below everyone else. And I wonder how much of a drop off we would get with seniors using the buses when they got to pay $33 a year more.
Actually, the seniors passes isn't a significant part of your ridership. So I don't expect it to have a significant impact. And, you know, if they wanted to apply for the BC Bus Pass, they're certainly able to do that, and then they're able to use that pass in any other jurisdiction.
Other comments? Councillor Moreau?
Yeah, I have some.
Oh, just well, 1 second, Councillor Thorkelson. Just Councillor Moreau first, and then we'll pass it to you for sure.
The one thing that I'd like to add, just to echo Councillor Niche, is I believe that simplicity breeds productivity, and I think that it's a very simple model that you've proposed, and I think that could actually make the service a lot more marketable anywhere in town. Anyone asks you how much the bus is, you can say it's a toonie to anywhere, and I think that simplicity is something that I think could be very effective for us.
Councillor Thorkelson?
I'm going to ride out the SkyTrain on the SkyTrain on Saturday for $4 from here to the airport, and I can pay $2.75 and go anywhere in Vancouver, and it might take me an hour to get from here to UBC or from here out to far reaches of East Van, but that cost me $2.75, and that doesn't seem to be it doesn't seem to be an issue. There's 2 zone fares here. I just as well. If that's why it's $4 out to the out to New Westminster, or $4 out to the airport, because I'm traveling through 2 zones. I have a real problem with raising it 75 cents to $2 just for simplicity's sake. I don't think our bus drivers are stupid, and I also do not like the idea that the Port Ed bus costs the same as a Prince Rupert bus. And I guess I have one more question regarding the bus fare to Port Edward. If Prince Rupert subsidizes our buses, who subsidizes the Port Edward bus?
Well, Prince Rupert pays their municipal share, and Port Edward pays their municipal share, and BC Transit subsidizes both.
Right, okay, I guess depends who you think subsidizing who. But anyway, so Port Edward pays its share, and so there's a separate Port Ed entity then?
Yes, there's the District of Port Edward.
So they pay for the bus from Prince Rupert to Port Ed and from Port Ed to Prince Rupert?
Yes?
And so, that is not, that's because that's not a mixed service, right? Not mixed. Prince Rupert services aren't mixed with Port Ed services. They're separate.
They are considered two separate systems, but they really are integrated, as Councillor Niche explained earlier.
Right, they're integrated with buses and they're integrated with bus drivers, but the routes aren't integrated. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so, so there's a recommendation to increase the Prince Rupert fare to $2, but there's no which for people to take a 5-block bus or a 10-block bus, and yet the Port Ed fare, which is a lot longer drive, that and with a probably my guess is a lower ridership, that's going to be $2 as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so. So nobody is saying that seniors and students shouldn't be paying. Their seniors and students are no longer going to be subsidized. They're going to be paying $2 as well.
If they choose to use cash. If they use prepaid products, then it will be a discount.
Right, but if they choose to use cash, then that's how they're. A lot of people don't have enough money to have a prepaid product, I would think. So if they choose to have cash, they're paying the same as a regular rider.
That's right. But there's also a cost to cash, worries about revenue leakage, handling. There's costs to the city to manage looking after cash.
And in Vancouver, is there a difference between seniors and students and regular riders?
I can't speak to Vancouver because that's TransLink and it's not BC Transit.
Oh, I see. Okay, because I can tell you that when you look at the Skyfare passes, there's Skyfare charges. When I turn 65, it'll cost me less to come into Vancouver than it presently does. So I think that this is very interesting, but I have some concerns.
I would encourage you to read the full fare structure review because he lays it out as to why this is the better recommendation and where those prices fit within peer systems and with other regional systems. And that is the fair price without, putting up the price too much. 25 cents is a very minimal increase, and dealing with one coin is way easier than a loonie and 3/4.
Councillor Thorkinson, can I weigh in here?
Sure, I don't want to argue with BC Transit. I'll argue with the rest of council, I guess. It's our decision whether we increase the fares.
But just to move things along, so you're looking for a recommendation for us, for example, to approve the transit, the changes in the routes?
Yes, please. Not only the changes in the routes, but also the fare structure. But the fare structure has a bylaw, so it needs to be read 3 times before, and it would have to be approved. I'm looking at February 1st because I didn't realize it was part of a bylaw.
So what I'd like to do is present that we would do a recommendation to approve the changes of the routes today and then table the decision for the fare increases for the January 26th council meeting. Any movers? Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Kinney. Is there any discussion? Councillor Ratawa?
Yeah, we should still be looking for that summer runs for the BC Ferry and Fairview side to cover that before we make the changes. Well,
the changes are just about those specific route changes, I'm correct, and that you're just not sure on top of your head that if there are buses that go out to BC ferries. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. That is not included in these changes.
Right.
And I can't say off the top of my head. I do have a rider's guide here, but I'm not sure. Councillor Niche was saying that he thought there was transit service out there. So whatever is out there, we're not changing that. I'm only talking about what we're changing.
So perhaps then what we could do is we can look into if there is one or not. Today we can approve these changes. If there isn't a bus route to BC Ferries, then we could have a further discussion to see if we can implement a route out there. Would that work for you, Councillor Redhowa?
Yeah, sure. Especially in summertime, I like to see more bus route that way.
Okay. Ms. Baumann?
Just for clarification, to bring a fare change bylaw before council on the 26th, I would like to get some indication as to what you'd like to see in that fare bylaw. Would you like me to present the recommendations that have already been included here with BC Transit, or is there some specific ones that you'd like isolated, that sort of thing, please?
I think at the moment, is that part?
But you want me answer, like you want to answer the Corinne's question, or?
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
gonna quickly address that. Would be, and I'm just asking you guys, is that we just make the changes that the BC Transit's recommending, and then at that time we can discuss the changes that we'd like to do, and that would give councillors enough time to review the fees and the report and to make a more concrete decision. Does that work? So yes, that would be what we would be looking for. Is there any other further discussion? Okay, so I'd like to call question. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Thank you. I've left both the presentations and the reports here, as well as a couple business cards. Any further questions, concerns, feel free to contact me.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
If I have one more question, and I was just wondering, why is it important that, is it important to the rest of British Columbia that we have to make our fees in line with the rest of British Columbia?
I can't answer that question at the moment.
I was just wondering, sorry, if the BC Transit presenter was still there, if she could, sorry.
Yes, if you'd like to.
It is up to the council to decide. It's up to the cities to decide what they want to charge for fares, routes, services. That's all a municipality's purview. BC Transit tries to bring our learned and best practices and what we've seen across the board as to what's reasonable, what that impact will be, and we're just giving recommendations and the information so that council's able to make a decision.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your time today. Okay, so we will carry on. So next item of business, 6A, we have a report from our city planner regarding a development variation permit for 1307 Emmanuel Street. Mr. Cricket.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we dive into the report, just a couple of quick words on development variance permits, which are a little bit of a staple diet for council. Those new councillors who are here will probably see on the average about half a dozen development variance permits. Last year we had 7. Each permit requires 2 meetings, so you can expect once a month at a minimum to see one of these in front of you. Today's application is the first application of the year, and it's for the property at 1307 Emmanuel Street, which is located right at the border of our development footprint. And as we have spoken a little bit over the last few weeks about our initiatives in planning and major projects, we don't take lightly development variance permits in any location, including the ones that are at the edge of, or as I call it, back 40 of the development area. This specific development variance permit is to vary the rear yard setback. So if we were to increase this a little bit, it would essentially, this is the existing house, this is the existing garage, and the proposed extension would be where the little hand is. I will show you. We're very flexible in development services and also very efficient, and we do take plans of various natures. So the drawing that the applicants submit are often of this quality, but they're honest and they're correct. And so this is their rendition of their proposed extension, and this is the setback requirement that they are asking for. The zoning bylaw requires a setback of 3 meters, which is 10 feet, and this is reduced to 1 foot. When we look at development variance permit, we look at the neighborhood and how this variance would affect the neighborhood. And in conclusion, Your Worship, my recommendation is that this variance would not adversely affect the neighborhood nor provide any problems. And essentially, at this point in time, the recommendation is that we go to the neighboring properties. And so I'll just loosely draw a circle. It's probably going to be something like this. So this house, this house, this house, and this house. And we will seek their opinion, and I will be back at this table on 26th with their comments, if there are any, and a final recommendation. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
That's fine. By the 4th year, we'll have it all good to go. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cricket. That's great. So there's a recommendation then that the development variance permits, application number DP-15-01 for 1307 Emmanuel Street, proceed to the public notification process. Motion by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Niche. Any discussion? Okay, call question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Next item of business, 6B. We have a report from the corporate administrator regarding the appointment of the Regional Recycling Advisory Committee. Recommendation that Council appoint Ms. Tanya Ostrom and Mr. Richard Pucci to the Regional Recycling Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, effective immediately. Any motion? Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Kinney. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 6C, report from the city manager. Recommendation that council appoint city manager Robert Long as the city's representative to the Municipal Insurance Association. Moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Niche. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is a report from the corporate administrator that council review the information and make necessary appointments. All right, so we have a few committees. Just going to bring those up at the moment. Okay, so one moment here. Okay, that's done. So the first board we have is the Prince Rupert Airport Authority, which consists of the mayor, one council member, and the city manager. At the moment, nominations for one council member. So what I'll do now is I will open up the floor to a nomination to someone to nominate a council member to the board.
I nominate Niche.
Councillor Niche.
Yes.
Would you have your name stand?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Mr. Long, are we able to announce? Are we able to appoint? Are you able to nominate yourself? Yes, we're just nominating people to. So right now, what we're going through is seeing who's interested, and then once we get those nominations on the floor, then we would then go into either a vote or.
So the recommendation that was written up in the paperwork, is that only a recommendation that the mayor and the city manager are on that also? So we have to actually bring that up too? Or is it
No,
just,
that's
or we're just going for the one counselor?
one counselor. Yeah,
So he's, the city manager is already on that position?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and so is the mayor. And so as it stands, and we can always look at the rules later, but as it stands, the mayor and the council and the city manager on it. Right now, we're doing nominations. So if there's anyone who feels they want to be on the board, they can bring those nominations forward now. Councillor Niche been nominated. Me, personally.
I'll nominate Blair then too. And I would also like to make a recommendation. We discussed this earlier, that we have 2 council members if we change the bylaws on this.
So we'll start with the election process first, because I think that we're going to have to spend some time around the bylaw around that. But that's a good point. So would Councillor Murrow, would you have your name stand as a nominee?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 people nominated. Is there anybody else? Councillor Thorkelson?
No, I think there's 2 good people nominated.
Okay, so that means we need to move into a ballot, correct? So can we get maybe some pieces of paper and a hat, perhaps, or something? And so how do we record Councillor Thorkelson's vote? Huh? Well, I'm just curious about how that would. Councillor Thorkelson, do you have an email handy at the moment?
Yeah, but I'll just tell you what it is, unless you don't think that.
No,
unless you think that
if
people
you
will
don't
wait
mind,
forever.
if you don't mind, that's fine.
Yeah, so you just tell me when to cast my ballot, and I'll
Okay,
tell you.
absolutely.
Let's wait till everybody is
We'll just count the paper ballots first, Councillor Thorkelson.
Want me to tell you what mine are before you? I don't want
Sure,
you to
sure.
announce it before you tell me. Before I tell you.
Sure,
mine.
you can say who do you feel?
Yeah, I'm voting for Wade.
Okay. So 1 for Niche.
There's 4 votes for Councillor Niche. 3
Okay.
votes for Councillor Moreau.
So Councillor Niche is appointed to the Airport Authority Board. Okay. All right. So next appointment then is the Prince Rupert Library Board. One council member. Is there anybody? Councillor Niche or Kinney?
I'd like to appoint or nominate Councillor Thorkelson if she'll take it.
Okay, Councillor Thorkelson, would you let your name stand?
Yes, I would.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to be on the Prince Rupert Airport Authority? Oh, geez, I'm all backwards right now. Library? Okay, going again. All right, Councillor Thorkelson, you have been appointed to the Prince Rupert Library Board.
Great.
Next is the Civic Awards and Recognition Working Group. And this is the group that creates, right, for the merits and the civic awards and things. So we, The recommendation is that council appoint all members of council to evaluate applicants. So the recommendation is to appoint us all.
Yeah.
Is that would be the recommendation? Is there anybody with a motion to make that recommendation? Motion by motion by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Thorkelson. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Performing Arts Center. A recommendation that council appoint one member of council to the Performing Arts Society Board of Directors. Councillor Cunningham. Okay, so there's a nomination to have Mr. Blair Moreau sit on the board. Would you let your name stand?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Niche.
Just curious if I know you were on this board before. Is that something that you'd be interested in, or you've got enough on your plate already?
I won't let my name stand at the moment. Yeah.
Nelson Kenny.
Okay, Nelson, Mr. Kinney, would you have your name stand?
I appreciate it, and I've been on it for quite a while, but I'd like to see a new member go on. Maybe they have some good ideas.
Okay.
Thank you, Joy.
Anybody else? One more time. Okay, Councillor Moreau, you've been appointed to the Performing Arts Center. Okay, the Recreation Commission. The recommendation is that council appoint 3 members of council to the Recreation Commission. So I will open the floor to nominations. Councillor Cunningham. Okay, so would you let your name stand, Councillor Ridhawa?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Councillor Niche.
I'll go with Councillor Cunningham.
Councillor Cunningham, would you have your name stand? Okay. And then last member.
You nominate Niche.
Your worship, I don't know. It's a commission. It's. I think that you should consider standing, Mr. Mayor.
I was thinking the same thing.
So I nominate you. I nominate Mayor Brain.
Okay, so just before that, Councillor Niche, would you have your name stand?
I'll decline that one.
Okay, so I will allow my name to stand then. Thank you, Councillor Thurkelson. Okay, so is there any other nominations? We have 3 on the floor. Go on again. Okay, so Councillor Cunningham, Councillor Ridhawa, and Mayor Brain have been appointed to the Recreation Commission. Next, we have the Healthy Communities Committee. Councillor Kinney?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Cunningham for that position.
Okay, Councillor Cunningham, would you have your name stand? Yeah, okay. Okay, so would you like me to read this out?
Go on.
Okay. So this is also one member of council serve on the Northern Healthy Committee as the co-chair. Okay. So is there any other nominees? Is there anybody else who would like to sit on that board? Going again?
I'll be an alternate on there if that's necessary. It's the co-chair business that's problematic, but I'll be an alternate if nobody else wants to.
Does this board have a co-chair? Do you know, Mr. Manager? It says that it does?
Yes.
Okay, so what we'll do then, okay, so that's, okay, thanks for that, Councillor Solkerson. So is there any other nominations as co-chair?
No,
Okay, so we'll have Councillor Cunningham appointed as the co-chair and Councillor Thorkelson as the alternate for the Healthy Communities Committee. Okay, and that's the last of the appointments. So next we have some correspondence for action. We have a letter from Ulf Christensen, received November 25th, 2014, a letter of support request. And this letter outlines that we write a letter of support in their application for a BC Gaming grant.
Your Worship, I have to recuse myself because I'm a member of the Board of Directors, so because you can't see me, I'm just actually going to just go use the washroom, so I'll be out of the room.
Okay. Just plug your ears. Councillor Cunningham?
I'm also a member of the board.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else need to go to the washroom? Okay, so I personally would like to make the recommendation that we write a letter of support. Second by motion made by Councillor or Mayor Brain and seconded by Councillor Kinney. Any discussion? No. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. And we'll just have staff. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Okay, we'll see if Councillor Thorkelson is back yet. We'll just wait till she gets back. Do we have any elevator music? Councillor Thorkelson? Should we just carry on? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the next is a letter of support request from Jasper Nolos to write a letter of support for the 2015 Northwest Growth Conference happening March 6th and 7th. And would there be any motions? Okay, motion by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Your Worship, that was for the Northwest Growth Conference?
Yes.
I was wondering, I was looking at that, and I think we got an email about that. Are we one of the organizers this through the Port Ed Prince Rupert Economic Development Commission?
Yes, and I think you're referring to your email about whether or not we can attend and things like that, correct?
Exactly.
I was going to inquire about that with the organizers because we are supporting the event. So we'll get back to you, and maybe perhaps we can have staff quickly send an email out to their organizers and see if that's the case. If we have to pay, councillors have to pay a fee for the event.
It looks like a very interesting conference.
Yes, I do believe that we're going to sponsor it, and that allows us a certain number of members to attend without cost. But I'm not sure exactly how many that is, depending on the kind of sponsorship that we in the Economic Development Organization
Sure. Well,
are
I'm
doing
just
to.
interested in going to day one, I think. Day two, maybe I can split it with somebody.
Okay, we can manage that, and I don't think that'll be a problem.
Okay. So next, we have a report from the corporate administrator regarding road closure and removal of highway dedication bylaw number 3357 2014. So the recommendations that council give first, second, and third reading to the road closure and removal of highway dedication bylaw number 3357 2014. Moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Niche. Discussion? Okay. Question?
I've forgotten, is this a real road or is it just a pretend road?
A pretend road.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Yeah, just a question. This road is in the front there or in the back side of the building?
I think it's on the side. I think it's the side. Councillor Niche?
It's actually in between the Neptune Hotel and the dealership. So it's basically, if you were looking at the dealership from the front, it'd be down the whole fence on the left-hand side of their fence. Yeah. And they're still leaving half the road there just because of, fire reasons but there's a big parking lot there already. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. And now at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Right. Actually, I'd like to make a motion, recommend that we make a motion to adjourn tonight's council meeting and then move into a special council meeting or a in-camera meeting. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cunningham?
We've still got additional items, reports.
Oh, additional items, right. Is there any other additional items for tonight's meeting? Councillor Cunningham?
Yeah, I've got a couple here. One is I'd like to get the City Council to put forth a resolution that we form a housing committee. And we would have to, there will be a cost associated with putting out an ad to get members for it. But either staff can look at it or we can just pass a resolution that we start a housing committee. I think we're behind the 8 ball on this, and we all ran on housing issues. And I think it's time to get involved in this because it is a problem in this town right now. Yeah. And I think we should start doing something about it. I think Terrace is way ahead of us on this, and they've got a good model there, and we should actually look at it and do something about this.
So to add to that, then what my recommendation would be actually if you can allow me to create a select standing committee on housing. That way I can appoint people as soon as possible and we can get rolling on that.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that too.
Okay.
And possibly with your recommendations being looked at by City Council also.
Absolutely. So the motion would be then for me to create a select standing committee with the council to have a look at what the members are. Okay.
Okay. Next one.
I think, Your Worship, this is just some hard-earned history. I think that the only committees that have worked on council very well have been committees that have had strict deliverables, and so we should be asking. I believe that we should be asking staff for the deliverables about what we want the committee to do. So that really depends on what you put the committee on. A housing committee can be so very large, and we should task them with some deliverables. First of all, it could be that the housing committee is tasked with an idea of bringing back to council what the issues are in our community, because they might be different in our community than other communities are, and just identifying what the housing issues are, and then coming up with some possible solutions. And then we might want to divide. We might have people that are interested in doing different things. So we might have a group that's interested in pursuing seniors housing, and another that's interested in following up on supportive housing or transitional housing or housing for First Nations that are coming into the community to do their shopping and visit the doctor and do any number of business things in town that need a couple of days stay, that maybe their band council should be looking at providing some kind of temporary housing. So I think that there's very many different needs, and I think that maybe with some thought you could bring forward, or you and staff could bring forward. I spent a lot of time thinking about this. Wouldn't mind being consulted on what this committee should do, and who I think should be on this committee is depending on what it is tasked to do. So I think that we could wait another 2 weeks to come back with a report, and maybe interested people in the meantime could contact the city, or we could ask some people ourselves if they're interested.
That's fair, and it really would be the same thing. The difference in this case is that in terms of management of time and having this lengthy application process, you know, I've worked well enough in this community that we know who the stakeholders are. We already had a housing commission day where we had people come together, and we can still have deliverables. We can still have breakout groups. We can still do all those things. It's that the structure is that we'll be able to hand select those individuals, and I think that the structure wouldn't really change that. Councillor Cunningham?
I just want to get the ball rolling on this. I don't want to muddy the waters. All Joy's ideas and points are well taken, and I think if we get a standing committee started, we can branch out from that, because I don't think one housing committee is going to be able to address all the issues at hand here. But the major issues are social housing, assisted housing, and senior housing. Those are the three major ones. The others are all important, but I think if we get the ball rolling with the three major ones and then branch out to the other ones as we're going along, I think it's a good way to start. But I'd like to get this started as fast as possible, because it's something we've got to get on right away.
Yeah, and you can also send me the names of people you would like on there. This isn't me just going rogue and trying to form my own committee. It's that I have the power to actually point people and get it going right away. And so would do this with council's help and support and that type of thing. So, but I do agree with Mr. Cunningham that we need to just get moving on that. And I think this is the best structured approach, and then we can branch into multiple directions after that. But I do believe. So there is a motion on the floor. If anyone would like to make that motion, sorry, somebody needs to make the motion. My apologies. Okay, so motion made by Councillor Kinney, seconded by Councillor Niche. And so just for the record, the motion on the floor is for us to create a standing committee on housing with the caveat that council be able to have a view of the members that will be assigned to it, and also that we can also look at what the deliverables will be in those type of things. Councillor Moreau?
I think that's fine. I just think the committee needs the terms of reference that they'll go inside. I don't care if the mayor appoints. I think that's a better process than advertising the paper.
Yeah, we will.
That's a good process. My concern is that I can think of a couple of other types of housing that are extremely needed in this town on top of the ones that Councillor Cunningham mentioned that I think are necessary, and so that's what I mean. We should have some terms of reference, and the terms of reference can change. You can leave the same members on the committee, but I think that you need to have some terms of reference and some deliverables so that the committee doesn't go off in 25 different directions.
Absolutely, and just for the record, I would be putting myself on this committee. And I would also be putting any councillors that would like to be on that as well, and that my role primarily on that committee would be as a facilitator for the discussion, and we can definitely set up terms of reference and all those things, and I don't think we could even have a committee without a terms of reference, so those will absolutely be addressed. And Councillor Moreau?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's actually the exact concern that I was just about to raise, is when we're dealing with an issue that's not by legislation our mandate or our jurisdiction, with housing being the authority of the province, I just want us to be very careful when we develop this terms of reference that we're not trying to duplicate service or step on any other jurisdiction's toes. I want to be able to work collaboratively with other organizations. And with that said, I'd like to keep that in mind when we develop this terms of reference, that we don't try to duplicate or get into services that are not within the realm of what a municipality is designed to do.
Councillor Thorkelson?
I've got my hand up.
Yeah.
spent a lot of time looking at this, and if anybody was listening to CBC this morning, they would have heard the mayor of Medicine Hat, who has reduced homelessness his community to 0. If you're homeless for more than 10 days, then you will immediately be moved into a home. And as a first Alberta has a within 10 years you are to be housing for everybody within 10 years. That's a governmental policy, and Medicine Hat moved that forward to cover that in 5 years, and now has declared itself homelessness free. And that mayor was talking about how Medicine Hat did that. They had, for their size of community, they had 1,000 homeless people, and now they're down to 0. So they had, I was getting ready to catch the plane this morning, so I didn't catch the whole thing, but there's some conference in Montreal later this year. I didn't catch when that was going to be, when everybody's getting together to discuss the issues. I'm not suggesting that we send somebody to Montreal, but I think that we should perhaps see if the City of Medicine Hat has a website or some housing site that we can go look at, because I think that they, thinking of, we don't want to duplicate services with what Councillor Moreau was saying, but I do think that there's a huge role for the city in this, and the City of Medicine Hat did take it on and moved it forward, as is the City of Vancouver. So I do think there's a huge place in it for a municipality. It's a municipal issue. And I think that interview can be got on a podcast and be very well worth everybody tonight going home and just finding that CBC podcast. It was on Daybreak North.
Thanks for that, Councillor Thorkelson. I heard a little bit of it as well, and you're absolutely right. And this is exactly what I think needs to be brought forward in this committee. And I think the goal would be to try to have this committee formed by early February, and have some people on there, and not too large of a group where it's just too many, but to have these kind of priorities set out in the committee, and we can go through who's going to be on there and just get going on it. Councillor Cunningham?
No, that model, Joy, is an awesome model, Medicine Hat, and I did catch most of the program, and I agree 100% with you. Rather than reinvent the wheel, we should look at other models and use them. I am just fed up with other jurisdictions giving this lip service and doing nothing about it. I don't normally quote the Northern View, but they had an article in there about how great the province is dealing with housing, giving $32 and $44 or $34 and $42 a month for senior assistance and assisted housing. Maybe if they put a 0 behind that figure, it would help people that need housing supplements, rental supplements in this town. But $30 to $40 isn't going very far in this town right now if you can't make your rent. And I just think that if we get this committee started, like the mayor is saying, get some key people like Joy, Lee, and a few other people on it, get some people from the committee, get a terms of reference, get started, look at other models. If we have to, let's do it. I think the only way we're going to solve this problem is ourselves, and regionally. The province and the feds, they're giving it a lot of lip service and not a lot of substance.
Okay, so that's good, and we'll I think that we should continue this conversation in the committee. Otherwise, we might be here till 12 o'clock at night. So there is a motion on the floor. If there's not any further discussion about the motion about creating the committee, I'd like to see if, is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Councillor Cunningham?
One other thing. A few meetings ago, I had asked the staff to write a letter to BC Housing and Melora to come before council and find out what's happening with the BC housing stock in town. I understand right now there is quite a few units empty and unrentable right now. And when I was at the Nonprofit housing, I tried to get answers from both of them. They basically evaded it, and I would like to get them in front of council and ask some specific questions. One group saying they don't have the maintenance funds to fix them up. The other says that they're there. So let's get to the bottom of this. I've heard there's up to 20 units that are not rented. And I would like to find out, because if there's 20 empty units that just need a little bit of touching up or that, we can get them back on the market, and the people need them.
Okay, so could we get staff to follow up on that initial recommendation?
Especially included in that, I'd like staff especially to refer to Sunset Villa, which apparently has a number of units that nobody's living in, but that don't need much maintenance in order for people to move in. So why are they not occupied? So special, so that they don't come and say they can't give us the facts and figures. I really like to know about Sunset Villa as well as the rest of BC Housing.
Okay, so is Sunset Villa, is that run by, who's that run by?
It's, I believe it's Melora.
Oh, Macola Housing?
Macola?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. But I believe staff had addressed both letters to we might not have got an answer back yet.
Okay, let's just continue with that then. Thanks. Oh, one more. Councillor Cunningham?
One more is I would like, I don't know exactly how to word this, and if we have a discussion on it, I'm afraid you'll have to leave the room, but it is taking the mayor's wages back up to what they were several years ago, so the mayor can concentrate on doing the job as a full-time job and not a part-time job, because I believe right now we have too much going on that the mayor should be here a little more than 2 or 3 days a week or 2 days a week, and working on weekends and that when other people aren't available and that. And I don't know how to approach it. If it's
Well, is that a motion then?
yeah, I make that a motion then that we
Okay, so moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Kinney.
Mm-hmm.
So I will then now leave the room.
Do I go?
And so, who's the acting mayor? Okay, so Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, discussion on it? Is there any?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I'd like to propose, I've given this a lot of thought because I know it's come up in conversation where the role used to be full-time and just due to the financial constraints of the city, it was cut back. What other jurisdictions have done that I really like the model of is giving the decision to the people that actually elect us. I don't know any other profession where you set the wages of your peers and yourself, and I'd like to give that back to the citizens that elect us and develop, I'm not sure if you'd call it a task force or a commission or an advisory committee, but something of that nature where we're not setting the wages of ourselves and our peers.
And how would you suggest doing that?
What other jurisdictions have done, I think they've labeled it as a citizens advisory committee or a task force and things of that nature. So it might even be a standing committee, as the mayor previously suggested, for housing, some sort of commission of that fashion with a very specific task, just to evaluate wages of other jurisdictions, if people want to see a raise for the mayor, if they want to keep it a full-time or a part-time position. We know the demands and the reality, but setting the wages, I believe, for ourselves is a little bit of to me, seems an inherent conflict.
We're not actually setting the wages for ourselves. We're setting the wages for the mayor, who is like the CEO of a company, the city. And we're the board of directors. And we've been elected by the people to make those decisions. And I really think that if we want to put that, we'll put it to a vote here and see what you think, what the other council members think. But I think we've got to start making hard decisions. And one of them is, there's a lot of stuff coming down the street right now, the road, the highway, whatever you want to say, that has to be addressed. And right now, staff is doing that and not an elected official. Yes, Mrs.
I'd like to be put on the
Councillor
list.
Thorkison?
it my turn or somebody else's?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Are you chairing this, Councillor Cunningham?
I'm the acting mayor right now, so when Lee had to leave the room because it's a discussion about him.
Yeah, well, I just didn't know who I was addressing. So, okay, so Councillor Cunningham, I think that we should probably. I agree that a mayor should be full time, and I agree a mayor should be paid to be full time. And I believe that what we really have to do is discuss the wages, and I don't want to discuss the wages until we see what the budget is. And I think, you know, there's a stipend for being on the regional district, and you know, we should look at what the mayor is getting from all his positions, and I think that we should refer it to the budget process. And but as soon as the budget, we haven't seen a budget, and as soon as the budget comes up, we should have a look at it, because as you're aware, every $100,000, not suggesting we give the mayor a $100,000 increase, but every $100,000 is a 1% increase in taxes. So, you know, if you're looking at $50,000, that's a 0.5% increase in everybody's taxes in Prince Rupert, and I just think that we should do it as part of the budget. And my understanding is that we're going to start looking at that budget in the beginning in February. And if that's when we can have a sneak peek at the budget and see how we're doing, then I think maybe that's a time to look at it. You know, and it's you know, it's too bad for the mayor that he might have to wait. He was elected on the basis of a part-time wage. That's what he ran for. He didn't run with the demand that if he got elected, he should be paid full-time. And so I think that we should be doing this in the budget process, not otherwise. If we decide we're going to spend this money and we're going to increase the transit costs and we're going to do all of that without it being a part of the budget, then when it comes to the budget, we've already made a whole bunch of decisions, and so it's only the leftover items that we can play with. And I just think that that's a wrong way of doing a budget. All of the things should be in front of us, and then we can make some decisions. Not that I think that we'll be making a decision. I think politically, I agree with you that the mayor should be a full-time position and should be paid full-time. But what we do for that wage is a different discussion. And as I said, the mayor ran when it was a part-time wage. And I think that we need to wait until we're into the budget process. You can't keep, my opinion is, we should not as a council continually restrict ourselves in the budget and set items for this next year outside the budget process. Otherwise, why do we have a budget process? We can just set everything independently.
Well, that's right along the lines of Councillor Moreau, just looking at an alternative way of doing it. We can take that route too. But going back to he ran on the old salary, yes, but in the last month and a half, so much has changed and so much more is coming at this city hall and city council that I really think these things have to be addressed. But I'm more than willing to sit down into the next budget discussion or strategy meeting we have and discuss this. I just thought it's something that should be brought out in the open rather than in a backdoor meeting. And, you know, we keep talking about transparency here, and here we are going back into a budget meeting that the public won't be sitting at.
Councillor Cunningham, we cannot have private budget meetings. All of our budget meetings are public.
Okay, I'm corrected on that. Okay, Gurvinder, Councillor Rwanda.
Thanks, Councillor Cunningham. Yeah, I agree with the Joy. Like I like to see mayor full time, but before that, I like to see the numbers. If we have extra money to pay and how much we can pay that. So I think we should wait for the budget process.
Okay. So then we should amend or put a motion to an amendment to the motion that we discuss the mayor's stipends in the next budget meeting.
Councillor Cunningham, we cannot have private budget meetings. We all of our budget meetings are public.
Okay, I'm corrected on that. Okay, Gurvinder, Councillor Rwanda.
Thanks.
And you're passing that motion now?
Yeah, I'll pass that motion.
Okay. Seconder? All in favor?
Okay, is there any additional items? Nope. Councillor Redhawa?
Yeah, I just have a question. Like, I don't know if I supposed to bring up here or no. Like these lights here, like few years back, after like midnight starts flashing, and but now it's not happening, right? So I was wondering if we can do that, like from like midnight to 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. So not much traffic and people can stop and they can go. Otherwise, you have to wait for like couple minutes to green. So I was wondering, I supposed to bring up here or no?
Do we have, we control those, right? Okay, so I guess a motion to look at whether or not we can make those lights flash between a certain amount of time and between midnight and.
Yeah, like midnight, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you want to make that motion?
yeah, sure.
Okay, so motion by Councillor Redhawa, second by Councillor Cunningham. Any discussion?
I couldn't hear that motion. Could you repeat it, please, Mayor Brent?
Yeah, so the motion is to get the staff to look at if we can make the lights on third blink green between like midnight and sometime in the morning. Blink red, sorry. So traffic can kind of move smoothly at nighttime rather than waiting for the lights. Does that make sense? Okay, so any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Councillor Kinney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one more thing, and it's becoming a real hazard down by the museum now and by the old video store. There is no lines whatsoever on the road for the crosswalks, and it's getting very hazardous. If they could get that painted, it's completely gone off there.
Right.
Okay.
So the two crosswalks
Yes,
there?
right there by the
Okay.
museum and. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor
It was just brought to my attention today by former Councillor Astley that the fire hydrants in front of Charles Hayes are not painted yellow on the curb, and people are parking in front of them. And it could become a problem if the fire department needs it, so maybe City Works should take a look at that.
Mr. Manager, do we need motions for these?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay, any additional items? Councillor Redhawa?
Yeah, like we have a playground zone on Frederick Street between like Savell and Camarillo Lane, and there's no playground there, right? No slides, nothing there, but zone is still there. But on this side, on First Avenue here, Mariners Park, we have park here, but there's no playground zone sign there. So I was wondering if we can bring those signs over here, like from Frederick Street to First Avenue here. There's
Like just signal that there's a playground area?
yeah, like on Frederick Street, we have a playground zone there, right? But
Right.
there's no playground there. Like a long time, they moved the slides.
Right,
everything.
by the housing there? BC
Yes,
housing there?
yes.
Okay.
And but on First Avenue here, like Mariners Park, we have a playground here, but there's no playground zone sign there. So I was wondering if we can move around those signs.
Could we, Councillor Cunningham?
Yeah, I agree with that, but BC Housing is right across the street from that old playground, and kids are still transiting back and forth quite a bit. I would like to see those playground signs left there, or a sign indicating kids playing. But I like to see that 20-kilometer zone left there. But I agree we should have the signs down at the park here too. So it's not a matter of moving signs; it's a matter of putting new ones down there, I think.
Okay, so can we look into getting a new sign down there? Okay, great. Okay, any additional items? Councillor Moreau?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion similar to the one you created for a housing committee, but in this particular instance, I'd like to make a motion for council to establish a small business task force or a small business committee. Again, we can debate on the shape or the form we'd want to take if it's a task force, but I think it's time for us to make expanding our tax base a priority, and I think the best way to do that is to solicit feedback from local businesses that deal with City Hall on a regular basis, and then really start to investigate some initiatives that can encourage business growth and ultimately help take the tax burden off of residents and existing businesses.
Okay, so you're making that motion to create a business task force, small business task force. Seconder? Second by Councillor Cunningham. Okay, discussion.
I have the same provisos that it has a purpose, the terms of reference, deliverable, so that we know. So it's not just another task force kicking around.
Okay, Councillor Cunningham.
What's the Chamber of Commerce?
From my perspective and from the way their legislation or their bylaws are set up, it's an advocacy group. They would be a crucial partner in a committee of that focus, but they're primarily a membership-driven group that provides advocacy for businesses in Prince Rupert. So I think they'd be a crucial part in providing us feedback.
Any other discussion? I'll just weigh in on this. Just something I actually campaigned on was to start a small business task force, and I think it might be wise of us to move in this direction so that we have more than just one group of people focusing on it, that it's a little bit of an expanded view. And yeah, I'm definitely in favor of something like this. So, and then we can figure out what it will do and all those types of things as per Councillor Thorkelson's request. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. So, just thinking about, we should maybe create a...
Your worship?
Yeah.
I just have one comment regarding the report that the Chamber of Commerce did on the airport ferry. And I read your comments in the paper that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I personally agree with you. I talked to, my husband read the report that the Chamber put out since it was a public report. My husband said that, if you take the Chamber's figures and you have a look at them and you say that there's going to be 3,000 people traveling out of the airport, there's only 3,000 people in the camp. So you would never have anybody ever working because they'd all be busy traveling in and out of the airport every day. If you looked at and took those figures at face value. So, we should look at what Kitimat's experience is. Ken said that people in Fort McMurray, that most of the flights in Fort McMurray are chartered flights. They don't even go to Prince Rupert. They just, go to Fort McMurray. They just pass right through. But in Kitimat, they're all on skeds. There aren't any flights. And he showed me a list of, they actually schedule people in and out by name. So they know exactly how many people are coming in and how many people are going out. And they schedule some for Monday, some for Tuesday, some for Wednesday, some for Thursday, that kind of idea. So I was wondering if the airport authority or anybody else is going to be doing any more work on that issue, because certainly the suggestion that we buy a second ferry is a recommendation that I'm not willing to support. And what we have to do with our ferry being too narrow for buses and all of those kinds of things, we do need to discuss that, because one of the lessons that other communities have learned regarding construction near a community, and with a huge influx of people, that you can overbuild, and so when everybody leaves, you have a whole pile of infrastructure that you don't need and no longer can support, which would be our case. We can't even support one ferry, let alone having a second ferry. So I don't know what we want to do with that report, but I suppose that it has some very good thoughts in it. We should sit down and have maybe some discussions on it.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to make a recommendation that we meet with the Airport Authority Board as a council all together, and we actually get some much more clarity on not just what you said, but a few other items as well regarding the airport. And I'd like to schedule that for maybe early February.
Yeah, and I think we should maybe ask somebody like Bechtel or somebody who's the big contractor in Kitimat if they would send somebody down. There's a personnel person who is in charge, apparently very easy to work with, in charge of moving personnel in and out for some of the major companies in Kitimat, and maybe we could contact her and get some assistance to see if she'd like to either phone in or come down and help us with this issue.
Okay, I like that too. So then a recommendation to organize a meeting with the Airport Authority and Council, and reach out as well to Bechtel and Kitimat. So that's, I'll make the motion actually. That's my motion. Second by Councillor Rathawa. Okay, any discussion? Okay, and I'll just say, can we look at the meeting to be sometime February, early February? I'm not back until the 23rd. I leave tomorrow to Vancouver. Okay, so any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Any additional items? Okay, okay, so motion to adjourn, Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche, and we're moving into a special meeting of council, and I need an in-camera meeting, so I'll adjourn this meeting first. And I will call the special meeting of council to order and get a resolution to exclude the public. Moved by Councillor Cunningham. Second by Councillor Niche. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you all for coming tonight.